My name is Marissa Russell. I am a Ferris State graduate from the Journalism and Technical Communications major. I graduated in 2023. I started my Ferris career, or journey, whatever you want to call it, in technically 2017. And in October of 2018, I became a Torch interim reporter, which is a position that we do not have at the Torch anymore. My first year at the Torch was very crazy. I was an interim reporter, and that meant that I was expected to write every single week, but I did not get paid for any of my writing. Going into spring, we had a whole new set of editorial staff. First day of spring semester came in and we had to figure out what our jobs were because we didn't have our senior staff anymore. It was just us trying to figure it out. We talked about what exactly COVID was going to look like for us. And I can remember sitting at that meeting at our table at the Torch and being like, there's no way that we're not going to come back from this. COVID might come to Michigan, but we're still going to come back from spring break and we're still going to write the newspaper, we're still going to do our jobs. There's no way that this is going to stop. And halfway through the spring break, they announced that campus was closing down and everyone needed to figure out how they were going to finish the end of their semester.
Community spread of the coronavirus in the U.S. likely started in late January or early February, and then it went undetected for more than a month.
93,000 Americans, 93,000 are in the hospital with COVID.
As the coronavirus pandemic spreads, New York, California, Illinois, and Connecticut all ordering non-essential employees to stay home. Those orders cover 75 million people across the United States.
Schools from kindergarten to college closing their doors. Parents nationwide now scrambling to care for kids who are suddenly home for the foreseeable future.
It was a crazy and hectic time, and along with that, we also have the big Black Lives Movement happen and protests and marches happening on campus, and we had the quarantine, and we had so many different things going on, and we weren't prepared. So the editor-in-chief, my sophomore year, was supposed to also be our editor-in-chief our junior year. Halfway through the summer, we get a text from him asking for us to jump on a call because he wanted to talk to the editorial staff because we were all still supposed to come back as the same editorial staff. And he tells us that he has decided that he does not want to be editor-in-chief anymore and he is stepping down. And Cora Hall was someone who was there my freshman year. She was the news editor and she was a very big part of the newspaper. Everyone knew who Cora Hall was.
Okay, my name is Cora Hall and I was the editor-in-chief at the Torch from 2020 to 2021, my senior year. The only semester I didn't work there was when I studied abroad. So this was the year after I got back from that, and I took over once I got back to the States.
It didn't really dawn on us until it was announced that she was the new AIC, that was what she was coming back for. And it totally made sense. Cora Hall was the strongest journalist I think I've ever met in person. Cora Hall was the thing that saved the Torch. I don't think that we would be here if she did not come back. When we came back in the fall of 2020, we had, I think, 12. And that was mostly just the editors. We had nobody that really was there for us to write. Everyone that we were trying to reach out to see if they wanted to come back to the Torch was saying that they either weren't coming back to campus or they weren't coming back to Ferris at all.
There was so much going on, and I also was just trying to right the ship because it was kind of a dumpster fire when I took over.
Me and my best friend Kaylin, who was the managing copy editor, were literally just trying to piece the Torch back together as best we could. It felt like we were gluing a bowl back together because we had so many different pieces and so many things going on and no way to keep it all.
There was a gap in being involved on campus, and I feel Ferris is still yet to fully recover from that, and therefore the Torch has as well. It's hard to get people to want to come and write in general, and I can't imagine what trying to recruit people to come write for us during a pandemic would have been. I think that would have been a massive issue, and I think it would have been much harder than it already is.
We also had the podcast come back. That was something that we always had a position and somebody was in it, but we never really had the content to follow with it. And so during COVID, I was asked Cora if I could take over the podcast manager. And we got to sit in the room and talk about what we wanted. And we ended up with the fire pit, and we had Charlie create a beautiful logo for us that literally looked like a fire pit with all of our different symbols of our section. And we had different colors to associate which section was what, so that you knew which podcast was based on the color.
Sometimes you just need to sacrifice your own personal life for the torch, and Marissa was kind of the rock when it came to that. She was the torch's rock. That's how I can explain what she did for the torch.
So not everyone in a locker room produces on a score sheet or is statistically good, but they're glue guys, what they call them. They do a lot for the team. They're a character on the team. They're kind of someone to center yourself around. Marissa is a glue guy.
So when I became an editor, I made sure that I never made people feel excluded. I always invited people. At the beginning of the semester, we would do icebreakers that I would create, and I can remember people groaning, "This is what's gonna get you out of your shell and go and talk to people." Because I made sure that people had to talk to each other. And I always wanted people to feel like they had somebody that they could come talk to, whether it was about Torch, whether it was about their program, or just their life in general. We had meetings on Wednesday, and so after our meetings, we would go out to eat, or people would come back to my apartment, and I always had that open invitation of, okay, this is what we're doing. Everyone's more than welcome. If you do not have a ride, let us know, we will drive you.
I think the Torch, and I'm biased, I think the Torch is doing very well right now. I think more than ever, we're slowly starting to see much more of an attention on what we create, be it either negative or positive.
I would say today, the Torch we're doing really well. The Torch always sustains itself is one thing I've learned. It doesn't matter who's here, who's running things. The Torch always finds a way to pull through.
There are so many things that I don't think that the staff at my time could have done, especially with how COVID changed what we were. I don't think we could have done that on the spot reporting or being able to do some of the articles that they've wrote, and seeing all the different things that they can collaborate and bring together is one of the proudest things for me. Even though I don't have much to do with the Torch nowadays, when I see it on my social medias, it makes me so happy to see.